Hi everybody, Geraldine Rose here with a card that looks complicated, but really isn't. You'll see. Oh my chicken, color throwdown 796, yellow, orange, and fuchsia. You find all sorts of things when you're trying to clear the hard drive out so you can record new stuff. I started out by warming up my glimmer machine, and I grabbed out the Spellbinders Sweet Blooms border. I was using hammer mill paper for this. It's really good for foiling. You can see at the beginning where I had checked the paper to see that I had the smooth side down. With the plate, you want to have the pretty side of the plate up, kissing the pretty side of the foil. That is some rose gold foil. This is actually how slow I run it through the big shot after. You want the pressure, but you only want to run it through once so that you don't get a double image. I let it cool for a little bit before I pull back the foil and do the reveal. Jumping over to my flower die cuts now. I've got a few of the Simon Says stamp ones here. I want to leave them in place on the panel so that I can color blend them easier. That's why I'm taping the smaller ones down into place. These were the daisy heads, the sunrise stem, and the layered dandy flower from Simon Says Stamp. Mimicking bicolor flowers in nature, we're putting the deeper fuchsia in the center of the flower. These inks were from close to my heart. It's a shame the company went out of business because these, bar none, are the best inks I've ever worked with. The magnetic case keeps them so that they don't dry out. They snap shut. They are very clear when you're stamping with them. They blend really easily. And like I say, it's a shame you can't get them anymore. To repeat the shiny bling bling that was on the foil panel, which by the way, sorry, I had ink blended it orange and yellow. I guess I didn't record. I sprayed these, which are the centers of the flowers, with some orange and some yellow mica sprays so that they are shiny as well too. Obviously, this is the portion where I'm starting to assemble everything. Looking back at this now, and maybe you've noticed this too, but isn't it amusing how often my nail polish for the week matches the color of the card that I'm doing for whatever challenge that I was doing that week? I also remember that this was a day I took off from work because it was my big 6-0 birthday. It was one of 3 cards I made. I suppose that's why I held on to it so long before sending it out to a friend that's in my card group. Hopefully it was a bright little bit of happy mail. This is the first look at the panel after it has been ink blended over top of the foil. After you do that, you want to rub it gently with a paper towel or whatnot to take any ink off that's sitting over top of the foil. I've arranged the flowers in a cascade down so you can see I've got the smaller ones up at the top and the larger ones down at the bottom. I'm gluing them down directly onto that panel. That diagonal composition is going to help showcase the orange on one side and the yellow on the other. Time for the sentiment. This is the Simon Says Stamp Bestie die cut. I believe it's one of Kathy Zilski's one. Cut that out multiple times. I also cut out some shadow layers in vellum. So I've got pink and I've got, it's actually a shimmer gold that's behind there. This is where I am trying to figure out which of those 2 shadow layers I actually want against the background. I think the shimmer gold, this one, it ended up being a little bit too much, chopping it in half, which is why I went back to the pink. So I've got one layer behind, I've got the other ones on top. I'm dipping them into the Versamark because I'm going to put white embossing powder on them first, and I heat emboss that, and then I put a pearlized white over top for the second time, which is how I got just the slightest little bit of a shimmer glow to it. The tittles, the dots over the eyes, you see I had them down on tape there so that they wouldn't blow around on me, so that's actually how I was able to heat emboss them. Gluing the cool down embossed bestie over the shadow layers. Mixing up some white paint with a little bit of water so that I can do some splatter in the background. I'm using my fan brush. We're going to put white over because that is going to cause some unity with the white that's on the flowers, as well as partnering the yellow and the orange sides of the panel. I've tried some pre-made card bases. I'm not as much of a fan of them as making my own from the Nina. This is the Solar Crest White, the 110 pound. I find for me long term it stands up an awful lot better without curling over and bending from the weight of the panels that I'm putting on the front, because we've seen I tend to do an awful lot of layers. Of course, on the back, one of the obligatory 7 custom stamps, the Geraldine Rose ones that I got from Scrap and Stamp up here in Canada. On the inside sentiments, I pulled out one of the close to my heart, A Million Reasons stamp. They have got such good fonts, the variety of the lettering, it adds interest, plus they're quite big. So it's fun to open the card up and see something like that on the inside. For the front panel, this is the Big Mama foam tape that I'm putting on the back. I'm putting a little wiggle room with the glue so that I can get it to set down into place. Although you see, I just about dropped it there. That would have been like glue smears all over the card panel front, right? Putting blocks on to hold it down and flatten it. After gluing down the bestie at that bottom third point, I'll pull out some of those, this calls for confetti, the copper discs, and we'll put the last little bit of shiny shiny bling bling on top. And that'll finish the card up. I'll just apologize to everybody for not being my usual bouncy bouncy fun. I've been a bit under the weather the last couple of days with a sore throat and a really bad headache. So there's the finished card. All right, everybody, you go be that change that we want to and we need to see in this world right now. Thanks so much for watching, for sharing, for liking, for subbing, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.